So what's up, YouTubers? Today on This and That, I'll be taking a look at the solar panel installation that I did, and I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the do's and don'ts, and maybe some things that you want to check out before you actually go about doing it, because things change, regulations change depending on the county or state or province or whatever that you're living in, and it's pretty important to know. And had I known some of this stuff ahead of time, I might have changed my approach on how I actually did it, because while yes, at the end of the day, I'll probably still do it. There's definitely parts of it though I'm not super pleased about, and I didn't really realize that until after the installation was up. And my local municipality, somehow they're excluded from a lot of the federal regulations, so they don't really have to honor what I thought was going to be honored in the solar agreement. So that being said though, they're not the worst, they're not the best. I've heard of cases of people being cut a check back on their solar production, their excess solar production, actually being cut a check with getting paid for that production, like instead of the billing at 12 cents a kilowatt or whatever it is, they'd pay that. So that would be like best case scenario, I guess. And then it goes down to kind of where I'm at in part, and that is allowing you to tie into the grid, and then net metering you, and then also giving you credit towards the solar production that you did, but not cutting you a check necessarily at the end of the year. And the way mine works is that, it builds, starts January 1, and it goes all the way through December 31st, and then it resets January 1. So any credit that I had going into the January 1 of the next year gets absorbed. So I don't actually see that back, which is fine. I was prepared for that. Where it gets a little dicier though is when I do overproduce, I'm able to put it back on the grid, which is nice. But they do charge me 3 cents a kilowatt hour for that privilege, I guess, which I don't know. Now I'm producing energy, giving it to them for free. But okay, you could argue that they're storing it. That's fine. But I guess I have a problem, because if I go to pull the excess energy off that I might need to someday, let's say I underproduce 1 month, which isn't probably likely with this system, but it is possible. If I have to pull that energy back off the grid, they charge me 3 cents a kilowatt hour to pull it back off, and something they call a distribution charge. And that's kind of where I'm starting to be like, well, now I'm paying 6 cents a kilowatt, which is what other people outside of my municipality are paying for power in general. And I just don't see really the benefit in that. Now, that being said though, there are worse. There are municipalities, there are electric power companies that will not let you tie in at all. So the fact that I can do that is pretty huge. And sometimes they'll try to limit the size of the system. So that here, I was able to get around all that because I put in a 23 kilowatt system. But still, I think it's something that you guys should be cognizant about or aware about before you go and do this, because it is a big cash outlay. Speaking of cash outlays though, I did this myself. It's a 21, it's rated at 21.8, 7.6, 20, yeah, 21.8. But they're bifacial panels, so I actually get over that. I've hit 23 kilowatt hours in peak sunlight, so it definitely produces a lot. And my total cost for the system was about 30 grand doing it myself. So that puts it just over $1 a watt, $1.15, 30 a watt, something like that. And normally these places are charging anywhere from $2.50 to $3 a watt installed, and even more than that in some places. So this $30,000 system, what I'm getting to, would cost $60,000 to $70,000 if you had a company come in and do it. So it definitely saves you money to do it that way. It also helps with your ROI, or return on investment, when you go to calculate how long it's going to take to make your money back on it. And again, you do get a third back at this point, or 30% back rather, from the federal government. So that's a nice dollar for dollar tax rebate that you get back. And that includes, not only does it include the panels, the inverters, but it includes the racking, all the infrastructure for that. So I used all lumber, timber, that all counts. Even like the gravel that I used to put all, to kind of, that I'm still finishing up now. But you can see there's like gravel and whatnot. That all counts in that 30% off. So it is actually quite nice in that sense, and worth it that way. So without further ado, I want to take a look at a bill and kind of show you a breakdown of what I end up paying and why. I'm kind of like, again, there are worse, but I feel like there are better. And this is just something I feel like you need to research, or you should research your local municipalities before you go doing a project like this. Okay, so here's a copy of my first bill for the first full month after the solar was installed. once you install solar, they come out and put a bi-directional meter. So they told me that there would be a charge for that. That's fine. So net metering electric, $6.25 a month. Not a big deal. There's a customer charge of $6 a month. Okay, not a big deal. I guess just for being connected. That's fine. Now, as far as I can tell, and I tried to call and get clarification, but I couldn't really. I think I overproduced 970 kilowatt hours to send them back on the grid, right? So because of that, they charged me a distribution charge because I sent energy back to them for $21.24. And then they charge, on top of that, this thing called a power operating adjustment charge of $10.09. So, which I think is just a junk fee, to be quite honest. All of it's really a junk fee, but that's kind of where I have the beef, I guess. I don't mind sending back power. I don't mind that they get it for free. I don't mind that they then take the free power and then sell it to somebody else at the full rip. I guess where I'm having a hard time with is that they're charging me to send them power that they're then selling to someone else. So they didn't have to buy it from their supplier. They then sold it to somebody else for the full rip, and they gave. Not only did they not give me anything for it, they actually charged me to do it. So in my head, that I did not know, and that's in the back of my head. That's kind of I just don't feel like that's a really good deal for me. Still, though, at the other end of the day, I did save several $100s on this bill because we do use a lot of electricity around here, which is why I put solar in the first place. So just something to be aware about. Always make sure you check in and get the fine details. Ask for the contract up front. I kind of live in a rural spot, so they just said, we'll send you a contract when it's all done or whatever. And that was my bad. I should have read it, through and through and asked questions beforehand, but I just figured, okay, well, I knew I wasn't going to get paid for it, but and I knew I was going to get credited. I was allowed to put it back on the grid. So those were my main concerns. They didn't tell me that I'd be paying them to do so at the end of the day. So anyway, I hope this helps. Something to think about. Make sure you check into a few things before you do it. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section. I'll try to reply to you. As always, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please click like and subscribe, and we'll keep going. Thanks.